Buenos días a todos. En nombre del Cabildo Insular de Tenerife y del Instituto Tecnológico de Energías Renovables, quiero darles a todos la bienvenida al seminario Hydrogen, the Future of Local Transportation, que hemos organizado en Tenerife en el marco del proyecto SEAFUEL, proyecto que está cofinanciado por el programa Interreg Espacio Atlántico. El propósito de este seminario es dar a conocer la tecnología del hidrógeno a través de las diferentes entidades públicas y empresas privadas que están apostando por el desarrollo de esta disciplina en nuestra isla. De manera que entre todos fomentemos el crecimiento de una conciencia y política medioambiental basada en las energías renovables y en un sistema de transporte libre de emisiones de carbono. Hoy contaremos con la participación del coordinador del proyecto SEAFUEL, el doctor Pau Farràs, de la Universidad de Galway, de Irlanda, la ingeniera de la Oficina Técnica de TITSA, Andrea Sofía Sánchez Ramírez, el responsable de producto de precios de Hyundai Canarias, Adrián López Lacalle, el ingeniero de la División Postventa de Toyota Canarias, Félix Miguel Micó, el director de Desarrollo de Negocio de Canarias de Nagas, David Sanfruto, y el director del Departamento de Estrategia Corporativa y Diversificación de DISA, Florencio de la Rosa. Todos ellos nos trasladarán su visión sobre la implementación y el desarrollo de la tecnología del hidrógeno en la isla de Tenerife. Esta corporación, a través del ITER, ha comenzado su andadura en esta nueva tecnología con el proyecto SEAFUEL, que quiere continuar apostando e impulsando esta línea de investigación y trabajo en el marco del proyecto durante los próximos años, contribuyendo a la producción del hidrógeno verde para abastecer al transporte local mediante el uso exclusivo de las energías renovables. Agradecer a todos los socios del proyecto su participación en las jornadas de trabajo que comenzaron desde el día de ayer, así como el compromiso de todos en alcanzar un objetivo común. Asimismo, quiero agradecer también a todos los asistentes a este seminario, tanto presencialmente en las instalaciones del ITER, como a aquellos que nos siguen a través de la emisión en streaming, y espero que lo disfruten. En este caso, como último y antes de finalizar, expresar a este proyecto todo mi apoyo, en este caso, no solamente como consejero de innovación del Cabildo de Tenerife, sino también como consejero de movilidad, que tiene que ver también con este proyecto, y por tanto hacemos que confluyan los intereses de este proyecto en esas dos áreas importantes. Por un lado, la innovación y por otro lado, la movilidad, con lo cual vamos alineados en el mismo objetivo. Sin más, les deseo una feliz jornada a todos y que disfruten de este seminario.
Can you hear me? Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this hydrogen seminar. Let's start with the first speaker. He is Dr. Pau Farràs, lecturer of chemistry at the Galway University and SEAFUEL project coordination. He is going to explain this SEAFUEL project, and his presentation is called Sustainable Integration of Renewable Fuels in Local Transportation.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Rocío, for the presentation, and thank you for the welcome speech to Enrique Arriaga. It is a pleasure for me to be here and give you a presentation about what the project is about, what is SEAFUEL, what we are trying to achieve, and what we have achieved so far as well. So first of all, let me introduce you who we are. So we are 19 different partners from all over Europe, from different regions in the Atlantic area. And we have partners from the quadruple helix, meaning that We have partners from research and innovation, from industry, from the civil society, and from public organizations as well. So it's been a long road. We started the project at the end of 2017 with just 10 partners. So in the last 3-4 years, we have grown quite a bit. We have got the interest from many new partners, many companies with interest, not only in the Canary Islands, but also in other regions from the Atlantic area. And basically, I'm going to try to explain why we targeted Tenerife as our main demonstration for the project. So there are some common issues that you can have in the Atlantic area, where you can have a lot of islands and remote regions with they have large energy dependency. This means that they will have a lot of cost for importing energy fuels, and at the same time, they can have very bad grid connections. In some cases, not. So there is electric grid, but it might not be a gas grid connection in some of these regions. So there is a need to also aim for small to medium scale installations, which would be very different from what you would expect in mainland Europe. Just an example, and I know that the picture is not very big, but just to remind that the energy balance from the Canary Islands, you can see that there is a lot of import and use of fossil fuels for energy generation, for mobility, which can be displaced in the mid and long term by zero emission technologies like hydrogen. Which are the opportunities? So these issues that we have said about remote communities, bad grid connection, they come also with some opportunities. These are like islands can be excellent testing locations for new technologies like hydrogen because they have less industrialization, so it means that there is less demand for energy for industries that might be harder to decarbonize. And at the same time, most of these locations, most of these islands in the Atlantic area, they have excellent renewable energy sources. Of course, we know sunshine in Canary Islands, in Madeira, in Portugal, wind energy on the north, and also marine energy in most of the other places as well. So how can we really use all these renewable sources to promote green mobility within these regions? And we have here some examples of a fleet of battery electric vehicles in the island of Porto Santo in Madeira, and also some news from the last couple of years about the islands in Scotland, the Orkney Islands, which saw the same opportunities that we see for Canary Islands. So in terms of the technical part of the project, what we have is shown in this visual. Basically, what we do is we use installations that were already available at ITER in these installations, which are basically renewable energy through photovoltaics and wind power. Also the fact that the installations already had a desalination plant, which was able to produce potable water for the installations directly from seawater, all ran through renewable energy installation. So basically within the project, what we could propose to do is use solar energy and seawater as your only resources, your abundant resources, to produce green hydrogen for mobility. So this is basically what we have done. We have some parts already here in Tenerife, in ITER. Some parts are supposed to come very, very soon. Like, for example, the refilling station. Okay, so this is an example of the installation that our partners in Scotland, Logan Energy, have been building. So this is like a black box, and I'll just skip to this one. So this is just like a black box where you connect your electricity input, your water input, and you get hydrogen at the pressure that you need already for mobility, at 350 bar. So these are the different components that you can see within the black box, within the pilot plant, where you have basically the production in the electrolyzer of hydrogen. You have the compression, you have the dispensing, and you have also some storage in the black box as well. So apart from this, we aim for mobility. When we started the project, what we saw is that there was not a single company that would be willing to sell us hydrogen cars to run in Canary Islands. Because the market was too small, we were still at the very stages. The hydrogen hype that we have seen in the last 2 years was not there yet, 4 years ago. So we decided to have a plan B. And that plan B was that we would take electric vans, electric cars, as you can see here, and convert them to run with hydrogen. So that's the job that also our partner Logan Energy has done. And we will have 4 vans that will be completely converted within the project to run on hydrogen, plus a Renault Kangoo that was already available through the partner that is also available now. Right now in Tenerife, we have already these 3 vans that are in operation for different tasks. And basically the way that we were planning to do the mobility for the vans is that ITER has different installations within the island. They have to go to photovoltaic plants, to wind farms in the island to get maintenance on these installations. And the idea would be to replace some of the diesel vans that they are using actually now for these diesel vans to have zero emission mobility. Apart from the purely technical work that we are doing with the demonstration plan here in ITER, we are doing some other work, some desk studies to complement this, to see how we can expand what we are doing in SEAFUEL to bigger scale in Canary Islands, to replicate that into the other regions in the consortium, like Madeira or the Aran Islands in Ireland. And for example, the case that we have seen here in Tenerife is that, of course, there is a lot of energy consumption, a lot of fuel consumption for mobility in terms of cars, in terms of buses. And what we could see is that we could map up some of the bus lines that are running through the island and try to come up with a way to see which would be required to make the case for hydrogen feasible. So what we have done is we have different scenarios in Tenerife with the replacement of public buses in 1, 5, or 10 routes, with average timings of bus routes and fuel consumption. And what we have seen is that by using estimated prices of electrolyzer components, refueling station components of 2025, we can get almost parity with diesel, with 5 routes being replaced with hydrogen. I think that this is very important, because this then links to some of the other studies that we are doing to replicate that into other regions. And this is a map that we have also developed that is available in our website of the project, in which we have mapped out every single island in the Atlantic coast and see which is the hydrogen readiness based on the parameters that they have in the islands. And not that weird, Tenerife is one of the islands that score the best in all the Atlantic area. For that, we are looking at different parameters like the energy resources, some constraints, environmental constraints, like there are regions in which there is land protection, so therefore there is no way that you could incorporate renewables in those regions. And basically we have ranked all these different islands into their hydrogen readiness. Of course, any new technology cannot be put into the market, into the society, without the support from the policy. So we have also worked on how can policy needs to be changed in order to incentivize the use of these new technologies. When we started, there was no hydrogen strategy anywhere. Now there are the European hydrogen strategy, there are national strategies everywhere, including Spain. But the problem is that all these strategies, again, they are looking at mainland, they are looking at large-scale installations. And there is no specific mention of what will happen in an island setting. So part of the work that we are doing is with these different regions of the consortium, we are looking at roadmaps for replication of SEAFUEL in each of the regions, with the idea to propose sustainable energy action plans to the regional and local governments to help them guide how they can implement this green mobility within each of the regions. Finally, apart from policy and the governments, there is also the need for public acceptance, so we are doing that as well. And in our case, what we saw is that for islands like Tenerife, where 75% of the economy is coming from the touristic sector, we thought that that could be a great target sector for implementing new technologies. So what we have been doing in the last couple of months is to conduct surveys with tourists that are coming to the island to see if they would be willing to pay even more to rent a car that is running on hydrogen as zero mobility. So we have been conducting some of these studies, and now with the support and the collaboration with Hyundai and Toyota, we have been running also some test studies with tourists that are driving the cars and see which is their feedback on some of these issues. And just to finalize, we have got some good traction in different places. So of course, with the study with the tourists, I suppose that you have seen in the news that we were doing these studies with the Hyundai and the Toyota cars. And in a more global sense, it was interesting to see that Hyundai, what they did, like an explainer video with the support of one of the most famous K-pop music groups in South Korea, BTS, where they were explaining the advantages of hydrogen. And what we can see here is like a screenshot of the video. And we can see that the Aran Islands, which is very, very small island off the coast of Galway, was mentioned in this video, which has 12 million views already. Yeah, so this is the level of impact that we are able to achieve with collaborating not only within the Atlantic Area Consortium, but also reaching to bigger players as well. With that, I'd like to thank you all, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Hola. Would you like the question in English or Spanish? Okay, my question is from like a chemical point of view. When you're converting the water, what pH does it need? Like, as it's seawater, I suppose basic, right?
That's a tricky question.
Sorry.
So to get hydrogen electrolysis, you need either ultra pure water or alkaline water for the alkaline electrolysis. To be able to, so there are two issues here in more the technical terms. For the PEM electrolysis, apart from using ultra pure water, you need precious metals, which are not that abundant. And what we see is that basically, if you want to scale up the hydrogen production in the levels that are planned in the European and global roadmaps, there are not enough resources for platinum, iridium to be able to cope with all the scale-up. So there are other technologies that we are studying also within the project, which deal with different types of electrolyzer technologies that can work at alkaline conditions, meaning that you can use abundant elements like nickel, iron, for the development of the electrolyzers. And this can be also a bit more compatible with some impurities that you might have in the water. So you have less constraints in terms of using ultra pure water to produce hydrogen.
Lovely, thanks.
Another question. You show the unit, everything together to make the electrolyzation and pumping of the hydrogen and storage as well. Can you elaborate a little bit more about the storage itself? It is liquid hydrogen. It is.
No. So there are two tanks in the installation that are at 450 bar, so that the dispensing to the cars can be done at 350 without having to wait for forever to get into the next car, for example. So there is the two tanks. I think I have here the data. Yeah. So there is a capacity of about 40 kilograms of hydrogen at 450 bar in the installation. So basically, the maximum production capacity of the current electrolyzer is about 12 kilograms per day. But within the project, since we want to demonstrate the ability to produce hydrogen off the grid, what we'll be doing is running the hydrogen only when there is sunshine. So basically, the hydrogen will be only produced during about 8 hours a day. So this means that it should produce about 5 to 6 kilos. So the 40 kilograms is just to make sure that you have enough storage to be able to fill different cars within the same day as well. This one there.
Hi, I would like to know, according to the cars that you have said that you changed it from electric to hydrogen, what kind of changes have you done on them?
So basically, you maintain the electric battery, and one of the main reasons why we got second-hand electric cars is because the battery size of those vans is smaller, so that we can get more out of the new hydrogen addition that we are adding. And as you have seen in the photos here, what we have is all the modifications are on the top of the van. And so here what we have is a hydrogen storage, we have a fuel cell, and then we have some electrical converters to be able to communicate the fuel cell with the battery. And also make sure that the car knows that it has to run with hydrogen, not with a battery. Yep. No?
Thank you, Pau. Our second speakers are David Sanfrutos, Enagas Business Manager Director, and Florencio de la Rosa, Head of Business Strategy and Diversification Department of DISA. And they are going to talk about the Canarian Renewable Hydrogen Cluster Hub.
Hello, good morning, and thank you very much to the organization for giving us the opportunity to be here. My presentation is split in two blocks. In the first part, I will give you an overview about the Enagas activity in the development of renewable gases. And in the second part, we will present you the hydrogen project that we are developing jointly with DISA in the Canary Islands. Well, for those of you that, starting with Enagas, and for those of you that are not familiar with the company, Enagas is a midstream company. It's leader in energy infrastructures. We have more than 50 years of experience in the sector. In Spain, we are the main transmission company and the technical manager of the Spanish system, with the mission to ensure the security of supply. And also, we are certified by the European Union as TCO. If I simplify a lot, we have two main objectives. The main one is to bring all the necessary energy to any part of the country at any time. And the second one is to collaborate in the energy transition and in the decarbonization process. 10 years ago, the company started an international expansion, and today we have operations in USA, Mexico, Chile, and Peru. And also we are in Europe, where we participate in the company Trans-Adriatic Pipeline, that is It's a pipeline that brings gas from Azerbaijan to Europe and is part of the Southern Corridor and a key project for the security of supply of Europe. And in Spain, of course, we are the main transmission company. We have more than 11,000 high-pressure pipelines, 6 regasification terminals, 6 international connections, and 3 underground storage. And all this infrastructure can be used for the decarbonization of the country. Talking about how gas can contribute to the change of the energy model, here 5 years ago we started an internal plan to reduce and eliminate our carbon footprint, and this plan is going very well. At the beginning of this year we have decarbonized 60% of our carbon footprint since 2040, and we have the objective to reach our carbon neutrality by 2040. But having said that, the most important thing that we can do as transmission system operator is to help other sectors, other customers, our end users, to decarbonize. In this sense, Enagás is, as all of you know, not all of sector can be electrified. And for those who cannot, Enagás is promoting the development of renewable gases. At the moment, we have presented more than 50 projects where we are working with more than 50 partners. And all these projects has common characteristics. All of them has to help to the decarbonization of the country. All of them have to help to the reindustrialization of the Spanish sector. In all of them have to have a positive impact on the employment, and we always participate with other partners. Sometimes companies like Enagás, other times companies different like end users, and of course all of them have to an adequate profitability. We have projects in all the regions in Spain and in other countries. We are working in France, in Italy, and in Germany. And here in the Canary Islands, we are, as I mentioned at the beginning, we are developing a green hydrogen project with DISA. But before to present the project, Florencio de la Rosa will give us an overview about DISA Group. Florencio.
Thank you, David, for introducing. Good morning, everybody. Okay, I'm sure that people here, well, some of you, know DISA and his activities, but I'm sure also as well that there are some things that you never know. This is what is DISA? DISA is just a provider of energy in conventional energies with supplies and trade. So we'll have logistic, storage, and of course commercialization, but also with the renewable and alternative energies. Also we have also two in the market with the energy efficiency services, where we offer through these enterprise companies. Well, this energy, well, I titled From Canary Islands to the Rest of the World, is a supply and energy in Canary Islands for 88 years. I mean, the company was established in 1933. And I was talking before with one of the people who are here that we know what happened when there's no market, in that case for hydrogen, there's not real fuel stations, and what was first? Imagine how we have the projects, the fuel and the station in 1933. Well, now, I mean, 3 years ago, we decided to internationalize the company. We are now in Spain and Portugal. We are the independent distributor leaders. We are now also in the second largest operator in Uruguay, and producers. We are producing renewable electricity in Canary Islands, mainland Spain, and also in Chile. Now we are for nearly 4,500 employees in the DISA team. We are the Shell brand licensee, worldwide, and we are now expanding our DISA brand. Of course, our commitment is just again, to Canary Island is energy leader. Why? Because we are guaranteeing the supply. We are just presented on all the island, all the 8 islands with fuel stations and with a storage depot. We've got trucks, we've got ships, and also we are in the renewable energy. We produce 100% renewable energy with 64 megawatts installed power, and the other 24 megawatts, which they are under control, wind power, that we expect that will be finished till end of this year. And obviously we commercialize the 100% electricity is renewable. But as pioneers in innovations products, we have to various milestones. One is in 1953, we were the first that used bottled gas, LPG, butane and propane. In 2016, we were the first electric charging site in Tenerife, in Santa Cruz. And 2020, we were the first natural gas vehicle site also in Tenerife. But I think that today David and me were the first thing and the most important thing that why we are here is just to present our green hydrogen cluster in Canary Islands, right, David?
Well, getting in the project that we are developing here, when we started to work in the project like 1 year ago, more than 1 year ago, where we were looking, it was for a project that first could contribute to the decarbonization of the islands. Second, we wanted a realistic project based on a realistic demand and also with potential to grow. No? After this time, at the moment, we have more than 20 companies interested in participating in the project. As developers, we have DISA and Enagas, and as stakeholders, we have companies from different sectors. In mobility, we have TICSA in Tenerife, Global and Guaguas in Las Palmas. In the maritime sector, we count with the collaboration of the Port Authority of Santa Cruz de Tenerife and Las Palmas. Also, we have companies like Balearia, Navantia, Boluda, and Astican. In mobility, we have also Domingo Alonso Group and Toyota Canarias. And in hotels, we have Ashotel, Satocan, and the Association of Hotels in Las Palmas. The digital part of the project we will develop by Telefónica, and in addition to that, we have the collaboration of the University of La Laguna, University of Las Palmas, University of Galway, and the Instituto Tecnológico de Canarias. Here you have the description of the project. It's quite easy. The project covers the production of the green hydrogen coming from renewable energies, solar and wind, and from desalinated water, and also covers the distribution to the end users. In terms of users, the idea is to use the hydrogen in mobility, and buses, cars, rent-a-car fleets, and for that we want to develop a refueling hydrogen service station network, taking advantage of the existing DISA network in the Canary Islands. Also, the hydrogen would be used in fuel cells to produce electricity, to provide the coal ironing services in ports and use it in public buildings and hotels. As part of the project, we are also analyzing the possibility to inject the hydrogen in the network that is a propane network that DISA has in the south of Tenerife. And also we are considering bunkering to use hydrogen as fuel for vessels. Well, here you can see the main highlights. The idea is to develop the project in 3 phases to reach a total hydrogen production of 3,000 tons a year in 2030. The first phase would be in operation by 2025 with a total production of around 700 tons a year. And at the end of all this, in terms of the decarbonization, in the third phase, we will decarbonize 155,000 tons. To know how much is more or less the size of 20 million trees. That is quite a lot. No? In terms of locations, the first phase is focused in Gran Canaria and Tenerife. The idea is to build 2 production plants, one in Tenerife, in Granadilla, and another in Gran Canaria, in Salinetas, and develop in both islands a refueling hydrogen service station network. Here you can see the plots of land of both sites. Already we have the land to build the projects. Here we have the Tenerife in Granadilla. In this area is where we are projecting to build the plant. And in that picture you can see the Gran Canaria site. Here we can see a layout of Granadilla, where we have a preliminary layout where you can see all the equipment with the electrolyzer, the storage tanks, the compressor, and the logistic platform. And the same for Gran Canaria in Salinetas. This layout is the layout of the third phase. No? In terms of renewable, we are also working in developing the renewable energy that is going to be needed for the hydrogen production. And at the moment, the idea, and this is very preliminary, the idea is to develop 17 megawatts of solar renewable energy in Tenerife, in Granadilla, for the first phase. And in Gran Canaria, we have a mix between solar and wind. Well, here you can see all the, as part of the different actions that we have been doing during the last year, we have presented the project to all the expression of interest launched by the Spanish government and the Canary Island government, and here you can see all of them. At the moment we have completed the feasibility technical study, and now we are working in the financial viability study. Just to finish and to end, we believe that green hydrogen can play a key role in the decarbonization strategy of the Canary Island. For that, a coordinated action between the public administration and the private companies is key to speed up its implementation. As you know, islands have unique conditions, singular conditions that has to be considered when regulating. And hydrogen development requires financial help and policy support to scale up all these projects to commercial side. That is our presentation, and we are open to any question that you have.
Thank you. Very nice presentation. Thank you very much. I have two questions actually. One, if you are considering not CO2 sequestration as well, not only decarbonization, but sequestration by itself. And second is whether you have in such a big scenario also business plan for using the O2, not only the hydrogen, but also the O2 that you are going to produce in electrolyzation. Thank you.
Okay, regarding the last question, the oxygen is one of the sub-products of the production, and as you say, is well, would be nice to use it, no? But the thing is that we have to find a market for it. We are working on that. We are analyzing possibilities to use this oxygen in hospital and other applications, but it depends of the demand, no? In any case, if we cannot use it, oxygen is not a problem. You throw it to the air and there is no pollution at all.
Yeah. Well, this is a good question that the bidder was responsive. But imagine that this project, we have also investigation and some things like not just for oxygen, O2, but yes, with Salobro, for example, Salmora. We are thinking all things. I mean, this is we are now with we are finalizing, as David mentioned, we are finalizing the consultant, technical consultant with a feasibility of the project. But also we are just thinking about what happened with the whole project. Where is there's Salobra, there's a Salmora, there's a whole oxygen. But we want to don't forget, I mean, the target, because if we do a project where we think or we try to cover all the all the IMA, IMA-Z, investigation, etc. Perhaps we lose the target. Our target is just, I mean, to produce hydrogen, green hydrogen, and then with the demand, and then that hydrogen, green hydrogen goes up. I mean, slowly. But these old things that, as you mentioned before, for example, the oxygen, it's just in our minds. But this is not, I mean, perhaps in that time. We have to concentrate our efforts in the green hydrogen itself. Okay, thank you.
And regarding your first question, the carbon capture is not considering now at the moment, because all the process is very green. There is no CO2 production in the whole process that we are developing at the moment. And it has another implications, but that can be a solution for a gray hydrogen, no? That is something different.
Thank you guys for the very good presentation. Do you have any plans to actually export any of the hydrogen to other islands or to other parts of the world?
Well, the idea is to focus in the Canary Island, and as I said at the beginning, the main thing in this type of projects is to develop the market, to have a real demand to build and develop all the infrastructure needed to make it real, no? Then, for sure, if we are able to develop the market in the Canary Island and we can find markets abroad, we will develop the infrastructure needed to export green hydrogen wherever, no? That is our business. We are an infrastructure company, and we dedicate our money and our expertise to do this activity.
Hi. You mentioned that you are not interested in the carbon sequestration. But when you are talking about exporting hydrogen, I know that is like long-term plans, but hydrogen, to be exported properly, you need to do something else with the hydrogen. So are you thinking about this next step as well? Looking at the 2040, 2050 plans, either through ammonia, reaction with CO2 for liquid synthetic fuels and things like this?
I now, to be honest, I would say that it's soon to think about this stage, no? Because as I said, we are focused now in the first stage, that is to develop two production plants in the islands, one in Tenerife and another one in Gran Canaria. And these uses that you can see here, all this demand is local demand. Then the main target now is to focus in the Canary Island, to build a good project here, and once we have reached that target, we will include other objectives like you are mentioning. No? But as you know, this takes a lot of time, and it's not easy. You have to you have to go step by step. No.
I agree with David. That imagine we say internal market, okay, because we are our project is with phases, and that's it depends on how the demand is developing, okay. Because I mean, thinking about more future, perhaps again as Juan mentioned, is too early to think, because I mean we are not sure how the demand develop. I mean, but yes, we are thinking about internal market, because as you see in the project, we say Gran Canaria and Tenerife, and we don't mention the other islands. And obviously, this is a Canary project, and that's why we say, well, if the plant is producing too much, and we've got, for example, hydrogen sites in other islands. I mean, the way is, or yes, and if we have decided to put central plants to production, that's why we think that yes, only internal market in these three phases. We are talking about 2030, and that is, I think, is enough what we think to do. Better imagine that someone asked us, well, what happened with the ammoniac? Well, we are now beginning. How do we go to think now actually to ammoniac or other different logistic systems?
The common is related, for example, for like the plants in northern Netherlands. So they have also a stage plan for hydrogen implementation, but they look at long term, really. So they are already thinking about what to do with exporting. In some other places in Iceland, for example, there are European governments that are going there to ask for methanol, not hydrogen, methanol.
Mm-hmm.
So they are thinking about these long-term plans. Why there is no like this long-term thinking as well? I mean, I understand that you have to go step by step, but if you have a final goal as well, it will be easier to get into that, to each of the steps.
Well, this is a matter of how do you expect, the market, and how do you expect to develop your project, okay? We think, and we are sure, that we have to go step by step. I mean, imagine, Paul, that to produce hydrogen, green hydrogen, we need a lot of renewable electricity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's and you know how many megawatts we need to produce hydrogen. If the actual law doesn't change, it means that you have to fill up the islands just with renewable electricity just to produce hydrogen. And this is, this is nonsense. That's why, because you've got a limit, which is a renewable. You have a limit in Canary Islands, which is the land, I mean, the spaces, and as you mentioned in your presentation, there's a, night and day, and that's a problem. Okay, that's why we say, hey, we have to be, the example in islands and how to work. I mean, with to get the production of hydrogen, green hydrogen, and the demand. The real demand. That's why our partners are as public transportation, industry, ports, etc. That's why, the problem in Canary Islands, as all we know, is like we haven't got a pipeline like in mainland or in continent countries. There are pipelines where if you produce a lot of hydrogen, you can put it in the pipelines. But here we haven't. That's why. I think we have to be very conservative, very realistic, even thinking that there's a future that will come, as you said, internal market, exportation of hydrogen to Africa, for example. That's fine. But, this is like castles in clouds, step by step. Thank you.
Hi. So, thank you for the presentation, of course. When I was an intern at DISA 4 years ago, I proposed to my superiors, but why not change to hydrogen? And at that stage, they were complaining. Well, not complaining. They were saying that the whole process of turning renewable energy into hydrogen to then produce hydrogen in refueling stations and convert it from fuel cells to produce energy as a vector, they were saying that it's not feasible. They just send the renewable energy, charge their cars, or send it to hotels. So that was, as I said, 4 years ago. Why has now DISA, I don't know about Negas, sorry, I haven't worked with them, but why has now DISA decided to go hydrogen, is my question.
Thank you for your question. I think this is an answer is, I think it's very, very, very easy. Why? Because as we are now, and we were from 88 years, as I mentioned before, we had energy. We are a distributor of energy. And then, of course, we are just in the running of decarbonization. We've got all the products, and all the products that the client needs. We say that why hydrogen? Why LPG? Why, for example, natural gas? We have to be there. And obviously, we have to push, to boost, and just struggling for the decarbonization. That's why. Every company with a sustainable, scheme must be working for that. Obviously, it's a business. Then we have to be there in the business. That's why I told before, yes, imagine 1933. Fuel stations. Where are the cars? Where were the cars? There are no cars. It's the same place now here. And you are, as energy supplier, we have to be in all the stages of the energy, renewable, natural gas, etc., etc. That's the problem. That's what we have to be like a company, as we are here on all the enterprises that they are just putting your place in the decarbonization era. That's why, and that's why we say Enagas. Well, this project is began with nearly with a SEAFUEL. Say, hey, this is not a little project. We have to make a big project or the main project in Canary Islands. And as DISA, know you. We are, this. I think it's a very important company here, with with a lot of clients, and we need to be there, yes or yes.
In the cluster, I was surprised not to see companies such as Air Products or Linde or Air Liquide, companies who are very into using gases and compressing, and this business model maybe could make sense to approach those companies in order to push this forward. It's just a suggestion. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
The answer is yes, because we wanted to make a project with no, technological companies. Why? Because I mean, there's no project without, for example, in the project of production of green hydrogen. That for us, I mean, the key point was getting demand, because to anchor the demand. Because why to produce, nearly 2 or nearly 3,000 tons hydrogen? Who are going to demand us? Who are going to consume this? That's why we separate this in phases, and then in the phase where we need technological, engineering, etc., will be another, a phase into the phases. Into these 3 phases that we've got to 2030, we will have to ask for calls for engineers, technologies, and of course with the expertise of Enagas. That we have a lot of people, Air Liquide, etc., we know them. But some of them insisted to be there in the project as a partners. But we don't want to be prisoners of one technology. We have to see the technologies that they are before deciding to go with this or those. That's why. I mean, we said we know. We want just to say that or to think that we want to produce hydrogen, and there will be consumers that they are interested in consuming hydrogen. The rest, I think, there are a lot of people, a lot of good enterprise through the, wild world.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you to both. Well, we continue with our next speaker. She is Andrea Sofía Sánchez Ramírez, teaches engineering of the technical office with her presentation, TITSA, facing the challenge of hydrogen buses.
Welcome, my name is Andrea Sofía Sánchez Ramírez and I'm TITSA's Technical Office Engineer. First of all, we want to thank all the team of ITER, especially the members of SEAFUEL, for having us today, and thank you all for joining us. Today, we're going to talk about TITSA facing the challenge of hydrogen buses. First, we're going to talk about TITSA, then we'll see some of the benefits and the main advantages of hydrogen buses. We'll introduce you our future project for the next years, and last, we'll see some of the features of the infrastructure for hydrogen buses. TITSA is the regular bus passenger transport company 100% owned by the Tenerife Council. Since 1978, TITSA has provided not only the island's inner city services, but also the urban services of Santa Cruz de Tenerife, Puerto La Cruz, Arona, and Los Realejos. Nowadays, TITSA owns around 561 vehicles, 180 lines in all the island, 1,700 workers, 3,700 stops, and 10 management stations. Although we live in an island and it may seem small, TITSA receives every year around 45 million passengers, and our buses travel around 35 million kilometers every year. Although we are still learning about hydrogen and all its benefits, we have learned that some of the main advantages of this technology can be low energy consumption. The autonomy is similar to a diesel bus, so it can fit each bus line condition. The recharge time is also similar to a diesel bus, around 10 minutes. The filling price is similar or even lower than a diesel bus, and the batteries are smaller. For example, in the case of an electric bus, the battery's capacity can be around 500 kilowatts hour, and in the case of hydrogen buses, the battery's capacity can be 45 kilowatts hour. Another advantage of this technology is that there are no polluting emissions. An example of a hydrogen bus is the Solaris Urbino 12 meters. This bus can store around 37 kilograms of hydrogen at 350 bar. Its fuel cell rated power can go up to 60 kilowatts, and as I mentioned before, its battery capacity can go around 45 kilowatts hour. The structure of this bus is very similar to an electric bus, but instead of having in the front of the bus the batteries, it has the hydrogen cylinders. Here we have an example of how a system of a hydrogen bus works. First, the oxygen from the atmosphere and the hydrogen from the hydrogen cylinders are supplied to the fuel cell. Now, the fuel cell generates electricity and water by chemical reaction, and this electricity is supplied to the engine and the auxiliary systems. This electricity can also be supplied to the batteries to charge them. Once the engine receives this electricity, it starts working and the vehicle starts moving. And as we can see, at the end of the bus, water is pumped out of the system. The acquisition cost of a 12-meter standard urban bus can vary a lot depending on the technology used. For example, if we divided all these type of buses into 4 categories, we have diesel buses, hybrid buses, electrical buses, and hydrogen buses. The price of a diesel bus can be 230,000 euros, and in the case of a hybrid bus, the price can go from 290,000 euros up to 400,000 euros, depending on the battery capacity. The more battery capacity the bus has, the more expensive it will be. Then, in the case of electric buses, the price can be 500,000 euros, and last, in hydrogen buses, the price can reach the 630,000 euros. As we can see, the price ascends with every new technology, but the emissions decrease more and more, achieving the goal of zero emissions from tank to wheel. One of TITSA's new projects for the next year is the acquisition of 2 inner-city hydrogen buses in a 5-year renting mode. Usually, hydrogen buses are urban buses, so one of TITSA's goals is to acquire 2 inner-city hydrogen buses class 2. This means a bus in which people can go both sitting and standing, and see how it performs in the island's condition. As we can see, the price of only one inner-city hydrogen bus can be, as I mentioned before, 630,000 euros. In this case, the monthly fee would be around 12,300 euros for 60 months, being the final price 738,000 euros, with a financial cost of around 88,000 euros. So, in our case, for the acquisition of 2 inner-city hydrogen buses, the final price will be around 1,476,000 euros in 5 years. In this final price, the repair and maintenance costs are not included, so we can estimate it around 22 cents per kilometer, not including tires or insurance. Also, we can estimate around 100,000 kilometers traveled per year. Our goals are not only to be environmentally friendly, but also learn more and more about hydrogen buses at all levels: maintenance, infrastructures, and operation, to see how far we can go in the future with this technology. Although our future project is to acquire 2 hydrogen buses, we don't plan in a short term installing a hydrogenation facility. But ATUC, the Association of Urban and Metropolitan Public Transport, has provided us some information about the main features of infrastructure for 15 hydrogen buses. First, in the case of the recharge, their charging power required is 1 megawatts. The refilling is around 4 kilograms of hydrogen per minute, and the consumption per bus is 7 kilograms of hydrogen every 100 kilometers. The consumption per bus can vary a lot depending on the use of the air conditioner of each bus. The price of the installation of the hydrogenation facility for only one hydrogen bus can be 150,000 euros. So in this case, for 15 buses, the price can reach the 2,250,000 euros. This facility can have a dimension around 40 square meters and is composed of 2 hydrogen pumps and 3 compressors. In the case of hydrogenation facility with green hydrogen, the photovoltaics dimension can be around 5,000 square meters for the same power, 1 megawatts. And last, in the case of storage, a facility of this dimension can store around 550 kilograms of hydrogen at 300 bar. Any question? Well.
Hello.
Hello.
Do you think it's possible to get more than 60 kilowatts in a bus? Because I think the power is too less. It's not enough. It's only for urban, that you say, for urban movement.
I really don't know the answer of your question. As I mentioned before, we nowadays are still learning about this new technology. So our team is researching every day about this new technology. So if later we can ask my team and see if we have the answer of your question.
Okay,
but thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Very nice presentation also. Thank you very much. I have a question. If I'm not mistaken, you are already running gas buses in the cities.
Yes.
And you are hoping to have just 2 buses of hydrogen. Could you elaborate a little more about the maintenance of these new buses? The experience that you are already acquiring with the gas buses will be useful for you to work in the other buses? Are you going to outsource this work? How is this a work in progress yet? Or?
Well, our goal is to learn more about the maintenance of this type of technology, so in the future we can do the maintenance of our buses. But as I mentioned before, we are all new in this technology, so our goal with this project is to acquire only first 2 hydrogen buses and see and learn more about this technology, so see how far we can go in the future, if we can acquire more buses, or how to form our workers to the maintenance of each bus. So we don't have the answer of your question right now, because we are still learning and studying all the options to this future project.
I'm not TITSA, but you know, TITSA is a partner of World Class. So just I think that to put clear, these are just an example. I mean, it's just to check what is the real problems with now hydrogen buses. That's why they are doing is just to to check. I mean, to work with the new bus, with the new technology, with that nobody knows, because you know the hydrogen for buses are just beginning, and that's why they say, well, it's very difficult to say, well, you know, how much is enough or not enough. This is why they are, I mean, TITSA is going to do, is just to take 2 hydrogen buses and just to check it. I mean, is it true that, for example, is it 20 cents euros the maintenance? No. Oh, yes. Okay. That's why, I mean, some questions is very difficult to answer because they don't know. That's why they are going to take these 2 hydrogen as an example, even with the installation of hydrogen pumps, etc. Sorry.
He couldn't explain it better.
One question. There are other locations elsewhere in Europe that they have been trying hydrogen buses for a while. Are you thinking about contacting them and asking them for their feedback? Because as part of the learning process, it's not the same starting from zero or starting from a place where other people have some knowledge already.
Yeah, sure. We are taking all the information we can get from other experiences, so we can try to replicate it in our island. But it's difficult because Tenerife has the island has a lot of mountains, a lot of small places to go, so we have to see how our nitrogen buses in our project fits in this condition of the island. So it can help, all information can help, but first we have to see how it performs on our conditions.
Hi, thanks for your presentation. I would like if beyond the fuel cell technology for implementing the hydrogen, have you thought on implementing the hydrogen with another technology, as maybe introducing the hydrogen into combustion engines?
No. No,
And
for the moment, no.
And what is the reason that you only have chosen this this way of the fuel cell?
We are in a experimental to see how this works. So as he mentioned before, this is all new for us, and we are going to try this technology and see how it works, how it fits in our conditions, and then we'll see in the future if we are able on trying another type of technology.
Because maybe it is better to not to change from 0 to 100% of hydrogen use. Maybe you can implement it step by step. Maybe change still using the combustion engines that you are already using to implement the hydrogen to decrease the consumption of regular fuel. Just
He can help me.
Sorry.
No, I appreciate it.
Just, I mean, if you, I mean that, I think you mean use the hydrogen directly to the combustion motor. This is not, you know, this is not a real, I mean, this is not a real experiment. Like for example, cars. Cars, they are just now, they are just doing, you know, example, doing some proofs with checking if, I think it's a Hyundai. Hyundai is doing this, I mean, using hydrogen as combustion motors, okay? But I mean, the real thing and what is happening in the market is just that buses, with hydrogen buses with, you know, self-fuel, they are just working as Andrea said.
Yes.
As Andrea mentioned, is for example, that it's not the same Tenerife. We all know Tenerife with, you know, there's a high levels, and that's not, for example, in Barcelona, where there's a project with 8 hydrogen with a partner of Toyota, which is Caetano in Portugal. They, I mean, they made this hydrogen 8 buses for for the transport in Barcelona, public transport, and just they are checking. I mean, we say that, for example, for cars, are not the difference cars because, you know, with the flat surface are fine, but here it doesn't work. They don't work. That's why. I mean, if you have to decide, and I would do the same if I were Titsa, it's just, you know, first with something that is known, check it. And then when we get, you know, production like a plant, that's why they are in our cluster, is yes, but I want to check it before. Because, I mean, we are talking about a plant, production plant in 2026. But from now to there, we will have to be prepared. Toyota, public transportation, etc. But, I mean, another, you know, another exercises or another examples or another, you know, studies, that's fine, but it's not in that time. Because if not, we are not going on. We don't go on. Because, I mean, if we are all studies, or, you know, we are going to check another, you know, product of hydrogen, perhaps we don't get, I mean, the end of the run. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you very much for that. That's some good research there. We've been doing quite a lot on the buses and have some practical experience of it. And would be very interested in talking to you about sort of supporting that research that you're doing to bring some real life experience to it. I know it's very difficult to find information from manufacturers. They're very careful with the information, or optimistic, I would say, sometimes with their performance. Sorry, I'm from Logan Energy, but we have got quite a lot of information on the buses, so would be happy to help on some of that information and costs and things. Just coming back on the combustion engine buses, the problem with combustion engines is they're reasonably efficient at particular points. When you're idling, when you're going at low revs, whatever, the efficiency drops right off. With a fuel cell, it's consistent pretty much all the way through the power range. So if you have a hybrid with a combustion hydrogen and batteries, that's better, but it's still not as good. So I think the fuel cell for HGVs or buses is a better route to go. And they're not, combustion engines with hydrogen are not really as advanced as fuel cells, funnily enough.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Our next speaker is Adrián López Lacalle, Head of Product and Price from Hyundai Canarias. His presentation is called Hyundai's Hydrogen Wave, Hydrogen for Everyone, Everything, Everywhere.
Well, hello everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Adrian, and I don't know what sound it is. Just at the beginning. Okay, so as I said, my name is Adrian, and I am the head of product and price. Future, and a vision to combat climate change, to reach carbon neutrality, and that vision is, of course, hydrogen-based. Over the past 20 years, Hyundai has devoted resources and talents to developing hydrogen-based technologies. This was and still is a long-term effort with results that we can see already on the roads, like, for example, the Nexo that we have here today. These Nexo cars and the cars we can see today help popularize the hydrogen energy for the future, but there is much more. My purpose here today is to show you a little more about this incredible vision, just to show you a glimpse of the future, the hydrogen society. And it all starts with a single letter.
H, a single letter that stands for everything you can imagine. Perhaps it's the first word that comes to mind. But its meaning is not limited to the place where we live. It's the way we have been and the way we will continue to be. We have treated Earth as if it revolved around us. The pursuit of progress for the sake of progress, however, is leading us to unintended consequences. We must humbly ask ourselves, what is most important? In what direction should we strive? We make small gestures for Mother Nature, gestures that yield the greatest efficiency for the driver. It's the hard-earned years of research and development, transforming a bold dream into a tangible reality, and continuing to pioneer the path less traveled. Together, we are creating true progress for humanity. Sustainable progress is no longer a distant dream. It is the reality we create and the reality we live in. While others struggle with the present, we at Hyundai have our eyes on the future and struggle for the well-being of the next generation. We are continually thinking outside the box to realize life-changing results. Emission-free, sustainable transportation solution is a present-day reality. Hyundai, a single word or anything you imagine.
So, in summary, Hyundai's vision is a hydrogen society. But what is this? What is this hydrogen society? In words of our chairman, Mr. Chang, is to apply hydrogen energy in all areas of life. The goal is to make hydrogen ready to be used by everyone in everything and everywhere. We want to offer practical solutions for the sustainable development of humanity. So the key points here are: 1, to make hydrogen ready to be used in all areas of life, everywhere; to tackle climate change through hydrogen solutions, to get sustainable progress and to reach Generation 1, and we will talk about Generation 1 a little bit more later; and to apply fuel cell systems to all types of mobility, and then furthering this technology to other aspects of society, including homes, buildings, or power plants. So if we take a look at the chronology, Hyundai has been researching and developing hydrogen since 20 years ago. The most important developments we can consider that are the iX35 fuel cell in 2013, which was the first mass-produced fuel cell electric vehicle. 2018, we have Nexo, that we can enjoy here today, and it's the next generation fuel cell SUV with the second generation of the fuel cell system by Hyundai. And then last year, the new heavy-duty truck Exion is the first world mass-produced fuel cell truck in the world. But this is now, this is today. Hydrogen mobility is a reality. We have seen it. So we can see the examples here with Nexo. We can see the examples in Europe with the Exion. But in order to get to this hydrogen society, we need to know what this H letter means. In the following minutes, we are going to talk about passenger cars, commercial vehicles, logistics solutions, and even sports cars. So first of all, with passenger cars, as I said, we can see examples of hydrogen here. We have here Nexo fuel cell with the second generation of the fuel cell system. And this is the best-selling SUV with fuel cell in the world, with more than 1,000 sales already in Europe. But in 2015, we already brought to Canary Islands the iX35 or Tucson fuel cell. And this was the first hydrogen car driven in the Canary Islands, a huge step for us in order to keep supporting these projects with hydrogen. Thanks to having this technology, we can say that we are the only brand with the 5 electric technologies in our model portfolio. We had hybrid cars like Kona in the example, plug-in hybrid like Tucson or Santa Fe, mild hybrid 48 volts in all our model range, or electric car like our brand new Ioniq 5. But with hydrogen fuel cell, with Nexo, we can say that we are all in with these technologies, electrification. Talking about commercial vehicles, hydrogen can play a very important role in commercial vehicles. It is key to logistics because it will help to drastically reduce CO2. Most commercial vehicles use diesel engines, and they are large ones that produce a lot of emissions. So this is a good place to start applying hydrogen solutions. Hyundai's solution for this is the Xgen fuel cell truck, which is the first mass-produced heavy-duty truck in the world. This summer, it has started operations in Switzerland, and so far, customers are very happy because the car is showing great performance, great reliability, good range, and quick recharge. So we already have Hyundai's already have more than 40 Xgens on the road, and they cover 210,000 kilometers per month with zero emissions. So they save more than 130 tons of CO2 per month. This model is being such a success that Hyundai is already making a new one, that is expected to be released in 2024. But the most important thing about commercial vehicles and Hyundai is that by 2028, Hyundai expects to be the first global automaker to apply its fuel cell system in all their commercial vehicles. And more important is that Hyundai will promote a complete transition of Korea's public transportation and logistics systems to hydrogen-based solutions, making it a good model to follow for other companies and countries. But these are solutions for today, and a vision requires solutions for tomorrow. So with that in mind, Hyundai has released a new concept trailer for long-haul heavy truck container duty, and that is the trailer drone. So this is a concept that is still under development, and it consists of a hydrogen-powered container transportation system that is capable of operating fully autonomously. It will have more than 1,000 kilometers of range from a single charge, and this is comparable to existing container transportation systems. You know, container logistics have unique requirements of transportation and operation. That means the way they move. So Hyundai engineers have developed the fuel cell e-bogie in order to redefine how a container maneuvers. The term bogie originates from the rail industry. Rail bogies, as we can see in the image below, are wheel subframes that sit under every train car and allow the car to move. The fuel cell e-bogie sits under the container and is a fully enclosed system with fuel cell propulsion and independent four-wheel steering. The trailer drone concept will require 2 fuel cell e-bogies to obtain this maneuverability, and it will allow it to move autonomously through port-side and tight urban environments. But the fuel cell e-bogie has a lot of potential applications. It will be able to be applied to many uses such as ground logistics, construction, or even firefighting, and all of this with zero emissions and autonomous operation. Fuel cell systems are not only being used for, for vehicles. They also have a lot of potential to be applied in diverse applications. Hyundai will expand the scope of the fuel cell system and technologies to all areas of the energy sector, including the generation of electricity and heating to buildings and power plants. But of course, hydrogen will still be present in different solutions of mobility, like these projects, a train, eco-friendly tram, urban air mobility, ships, even robots, and of course, high-performance vehicles. So this is the Vision FK, and this is Hyundai's first hydrogen-powered hybrid sports car prototype. This prototype is able to give an output of 500 kilowatts to reach 100 kilometers per hour in less than 4 seconds, and all with a range of over 600 kilometers. Vision FK is proving to be a challenge for Hyundai engineers. But this is a good project to keep learning and, who knows, maybe one day compete under the N brand of Hyundai in motorsports. So we have seen a lot of projects, but how is the future of the fuel cell system that will allow all these projects to become a reality? Well, Nexo has the second generation of Hyundai's 100 kilowatt fuel cell system, but the brand is already working on the next generation, the third generation. This generation will have more power and less volume, and it's planned to be introduced in 2024. Compared to Nexo's system, the second generation in black, the third generation 100 kilowatt system will be 30% smaller with the same output. Hyundai is also working in a new system with 200 kilowatt of output that is the same size as current Nexo, but with twice the output. This one is being developed exclusively for commercial vehicles. And Hyundai expects that with 2 of these systems per truck, we can achieve 350 kilowatts of power that is equivalent to current diesel engines. But for this third generation, the goal is, and it always is, and always will be, to improve durability and to decrease cost, to decrease price. In terms of durability, the second generation, the one that Nexo has, it already gives us the industry standard of 5,000 hours or 160,000 kilometers. This is very close to a passenger car 10-year life cycle, an internal combustion engine car. The industry target for commercial vehicles is much tougher, and Hyundai expects to get it in a near future. In terms of cost, we can see in this graphic how the price have already lowered a lot. With the next generation, Hyundai expects to be 98% cheaper than since the first prototype was worked or released in 2003. We have to bear in mind that this fuel cell technology is still at the early stage of development. Only 10 to 15,000 fuel cell vehicles are produced per year, and Hyundai is still not benefiting from economies of scale. In comparison, 4 to 5 millions of electric cars, battery electric cars, are produced per year, and nearly 100 million of internal combustion engines. So the price for the third generation will be reduced, and this will be a key factor to achieve cost parity between fuel cell vehicles and electric vehicles by 2030. Regarding these systems, fuel cell systems, one of the most interesting applications is what Hyundai calls the power unit module. This can offer a range of outputs from 500 kilowatts to 1 megawatt by stacking 100 kilowatts modular units like Lego blocks. This is ideal for use as an emergency power system for buildings, large ships, or IT companies. If this technology improves, they could be assembled to a high capacity output and power even big cities. Another innovation is the fuel cell full flat system, a little of a tongue twister there. This lowered stack height to 25 centimeters, allowing it to be used for many applications, like to be mounted on the upper or the lower part of a vehicle, a bus, a tram, etc. So we have talked about the projects that are the way to get to that hydrogen society. But we have to ponder the question, how will this hydrogen society look like? In terms of mobility, we can have a glimpse of this future city that Hyundai expects to reach by 2030. At CES 2020, Hyundai Motor showcased 3 mobility solutions for the future that could be both electric and hydrogen-based. Let's see them. So, to finish my presentation, I just want to say that this was not just about showing products or corporate vision. Hyundai sincerely wants to offer solutions for a sustainable progress for humanity. You know, climate change disasters are rising fast and global cooperation is crucial. Hydrogen is a powerful solution for environmental challenges. But this is not something a single company or a single country can achieve by itself. Hyundai knows that we need global cooperation to reach that hydrogen society, to reach that generation 1, the first generation that will live in an emissions-free world.
I expect you to
Saya harap kamu bisa menjaga laut untuk generasi penerus.
Mitami, kuurtuta, awartinan dumdiam. Espero que salves nuestro planeta.
We listen to those carrying the biggest responsibility for humanity. We are all expecting Generation 1. The first generation that will live carbon neutral by our efforts against climate change.
And that's all from my side. I will be happy to answer any of your questions. Just please don't make them too difficult.
Adrian, you mentioned that Hyundai is developing their own fuel cells, and to scale up to this amount, are they looking at really using abandoned elements for the fuel cells?
Abandoned elements?
Yep. Because fuel cells still use like precious metals,
and that's
so I suppose that that's one of the key elements of the research that Hyundai is doing for their own fuel cells as well.
And that's why I consider it a difficult question. You know, I wouldn't know what to tell you because it's not my technical area of expertise. I was just trying to show, you know, the brand vision about this hydrogen society, but the brand has a very complete web page in Hyundai Motor Group that they showcase everything hydrogen related. And I mean everything, like to a ridiculous level of detail. So I will let you get the link later. I'm sorry. Well, thank you.
Thank you. And to finish this seminar, I would like to introduce Félix Miguel Mico. He is after-sales field representative at Toyota Canarias. His presentation is called Hydrogen, a Vector of Change in Sustainable Mobility.
Morning. Thank you. Thank you to the organization for inviting to the Canadians to this event. Let us start. Okay, the most significant emission of greenhouse gases in Canary Islands come from our electricity production and the systematic burning of fossil hydrocarbons and thermal power plants. which represents the 84% of our production. Renewable energies, despite the advances of recent years, still have a low share of penetration, with the project still on development phase, and we have unequal implementation by island. The coverage of the electricity demand of the island provided of renewable energies represent only almost 16%. Which means that our electrical vehicle use is only 84% thermal quota and almost 16% renewable. With current situation on the Canary Island, we are isolated, we are far, fragmented, dependent of the tourism sector, without natural resources, and in a situation where the production electricity is mixed with the extremely pollutants. What we need for our future? To be able to produce locally the energy, to be safe, to be produced green energy with a sustainable process, to be able to store, to help decarbonize our society, and to be able to change the fuel oil in the electricity production in a sustainable manner. Fuel cell vehicles are highly energy efficient, offering a long range with the short refueling times and only emit water when driving. Today, they are already a reality. Hudson train in operation, Airbus development, a storage project in European ports and airports, ships, the mountain hydrogen, fuel cell, buses destined to the regular transport of passengers, and impulse of that comes from the European transnational strategy of generation of green hydrogen. This sector segments by products and demand. Now, it's time to segment by new mobility needs, and this must be clearly linked in the not polluting technology solution. Segmentation for the use of truly clean electric vehicles in short radius urban mobility. Hydrogen in medium and long radius land transport, including goods and passengers. That is what constitutes the essence of the public transport. In order to achieve our challenge, we foresee the acceleration of hybrid vehicles, plug-in hybrid vehicles, battery vehicles, and fuel cell dramatically as of 2020. And all powertrains will play a significant role in the future. As leaders in sustainable mobility, we have a great responsibility. Alternative vehicles make up more than 60% of our sales. To promote this penetration of hybrid electric, Toyota released 23,740 patents, sharing with the entire industry 20 years of investment in research of electric motors, energy control units, and system controllers with application in both hybrid cars. Plug-in hybrid vehicles or fuel cell vehicles. Specifically, on advance in hydrogen in pair with the launch of the Toyota Mirai. Toyota, in 2015, released more than 5,600 technological patents related to the fuel cell, so that other manufacturers can use them without paying rights. Now, get into the fuel cell technology of the Toyota Mirai. We start with the basic, these three components: hydrogen tank, fuel cell stack, electric motor, battery, or power control unit, and power control unit. Of a basic structure, this architecture shared in all Toyota hybrid vehicles, plug-in hybrid and electric. Only change the components and get different powertrains. Now let's take a look at how the fuel cell is composed. The fuel cell has a first gas diffusion layer, which the hydrogen molecule enters into the negative electrode. The electrode enters in the circuit, and the hydrogen molecule is split into the membrane. To allow the electron to flow through the circuit to the positive electrode, the proton in the positive electrode pulls the electron back to get the hydrogen molecules again. Finally, we inject oxygen into the second gas diffusion layer, making water as the only residue. This fuel cell stack has 360 cells, and each of these cells generate 1 volt. Let's see how this occurs inside our fuel cell. The catalyst membrane allows the proton to move through, but the electron doesn't because its size, forcing the electron to flow through the circuit to rejoin with the proton, forming hydrogen again. This movement of electron generates electricity in order to move an electric motor or simply store on a battery. The hydrogen and oxygen come together to form water with the byproducts. Now we see which and where are located all these components in our Toyota Mirai. First, the main and principal component is the fuel cell stack. The fuel cell stack needs hydrogen and oxygen to create or to generate electricity. The oxygen we get with the air, and the fuel cell air compressor injects this oxygen into the fuel cell stack. The hydrogen will be provided with the hydrogen tank and inject this hydrogen into the fuel cell stack too. The fuel cell stack generates electricity and water. This electricity is being sent to the power control unit. Inside the power control unit, we have an inverter and boost converter. This boost converter increases the voltage in order to operate dictatorial electric motor, or send this electricity to simply store this energy on battery. This battery also store energy, provide of the regeneration of the wheels through the power control unit. Okay, let's take a look at how it looks like inside Toyota Mirai. In the front of vehicle, in the fuel cell compartment, we find the fuel cell stack, an assembly of individual membrane electrode, and they use hydrogen and oxygen to produce electricity. Mounted on top of this, we find a power control unit, which is shared with the latest generation of our Toyota hybrid. In the back of the seat, in the rear area of the vehicle, we find the battery. It's not a big battery, it's a battery which share with our Lexus LS 500 hybrid. And the electric motor is mounted in the rear axle, and also is shared with our Lexus UX 300 electric. Finally, we find in the bottom of the vehicle the hydrogen tanks. In case of the first generation of Mirai, we have two hydrogen tanks, but in the second generation we have three hydrogen tanks in order to improve the range of the autonomy of the second generation. For me, it's finished until here. We have some question?
Hi, quick question on the fuel cell size and battery size, and how far the vehicle can go, if at all, on just battery, and whether it's used just for regenerating electricity.
Yes, the battery is in case of first generation Mirai, it's a nickel metal battery. In case of second generation Mirai, it's an ion battery. It's the same battery we use in Lexus hybrid vehicle. It's not a big battery, not a battery used on an electric vehicle, for example. It's the same, exactly the same ion battery of Lexus hybrid vehicle.
What capacity, do you know?
300 volts.
300 volts, and
yes.
how many amp hours?
No, the weight's not exactly the weight. Maybe it's, I can find this figure and send you.
Sorry, very nice presentation as well.
Thank you.
A quick question about the hydrogen tanks. I like Logan's solution very much because they put it on the top of the car. I know that doesn't look nice, but it's in case of an accident, hydrogen floats upwards. You are not considering to move, I mean, it seems like you are following the same track as batteries do, to put this component, heavy component, on the bottom of the car, but maybe consider to move it upwards won't be a bad solution either. For security reasons.
It's a manufacturer decide. I not think maybe it's a lot of tests. Toyota, the first Mirai is in 2015 in Europe. He makes a lot of tests and no problem until now. I think is a good solution.
Thank you very much. Just briefly say that it really thank you all your attendance. We hope you enjoy it. And in case you are interested, we have a sample of our hydrogen vehicles outside. Now we have a cocktail. Of course, you all are invited. And after that, we plan to make a visit to our facilities in case you would like to join. Thank you so much.